The flickering blue light from Victor's discarded phone was a silent scream in the hushed expanse of the Apex Innovations office. It lay face up on his polished desk, an unwitting witness to the treachery unfolding within its glowing pixels. My breath caught in my throat, a shard of ice splintering in my chest as my gaze snagged on the damning words. Once Ilara closes the Horizon Dynamics deal, we're clear to cut her loose. Liam, cut me loose. The phrase echoed in the cavernous silence of the late evening, each syllable a hammer blow against the fortress of my ambition. My hands, usually so steady when navigating complex spreadsheets or crafting impenetrable strategies, trembled, betraying the icy calm I desperately tried to project. This wasn't a rumor, not a whisper from the water cooler. This was concrete, irrefutable proof, staring back at me from the screen of the very man who had lauded my unwavering dedication just weeks ago. A bitter laugh threatened to escape my lips, but it dissolved into a dry, choking gasp. For 7 years, I had poured every ounce of my intellect, my passion, my very soul into this company. I was the silent force, the ghost in the machine, tirelessly weaving the intricate tapestries of success that Apex Innovations proudly displayed. While Victor, with his practiced smile and empty platitudes, took the stage, basking in the spotlight, it was my blueprints, my calculations, my sleepless nights that built the foundation beneath his feet. I remembered countless overlooked promotions, the next time Ilara, promises that never materialized, while less deserving colleagues, particularly Victor, soared through the ranks on the strength of my unseen labor. He was the dazzling veneer. I was the forgotten bedrock. And now, after dedicating nearly a year, sacrificing weekends and personal milestones to secure the monumental $38 million Horizon Dynamics contract, the crown jewel in Apex Q3 portfolio, I was to be discarded, a tool to be used and then broken, a means to an end. The realization struck me with the force of a physical blow, stripping away years of naive hope and leaving behind a raw, festering wound of betrayal. The fluorescent lights of the deserted office hummed with a mocking indifference. Each empty cubicle seemed to sneer, each silent keyboard a testament to the hours I had wasted believing in a system that clearly didn't believe in me. The air grew thick, heavy with the weight of shattered dreams. My vision blurred, not from tears, but from the sudden, overwhelming clarity of my situation. This wasn't just a career setback, it was a personal affront, a calculated move to exploit my talent and then cast me aside like a used tissue. Fear, cold and sharp, initially pierced through my shock. What would I do? How would I survive this? My entire professional identity was intertwined with Apex, but as the initial panic subsided, a new, fiery emotion began to smolder deep within me. It wasn't despair. It was a righteous, unyielding rage, a quiet storm brewing beneath the surface of my composure. They wanted to cut me loose? Fine, but I wouldn't just drift away. I would become a hurricane. They wanted the Horizon Dynamics deal? They wouldn't get it quite so easily, not on their terms, and certainly not at my expense. The game had changed, and this time, I was playing to win. The chill of the night air was a stark contrast to the burning indignation within me as I stepped out of Apex Innovations, the metallic scent of impending rain hanging heavy. Just hours earlier, I'd been adrift in a sea of despair, but now a small, unexpected anchor had appeared, reminding me that even in the darkest storms, a tiny beacon of light could emerge from an unlikely place. The email had been buried deep in my inbox, almost forgotten, sent months ago after a particularly grueling strategy meeting with Horizon Dynamics. It was from Liam Sterling, their chief operating officer, a man whose sharp intellect and genuine respect for competence I had always admired, a stark contrast to the performative leadership I endured daily. "Ilara," the subject line read, "if you ever decide to forge your own path, know that my door and Horizon Dynamics support would be open. Your vision is too bright to be contained." At the time, I'd dismissed it as a polite, if flattering, gesture. Now, it felt like a lifeline thrown from a distant ship. My mind, still reeling from Victor's betrayal, began to churn with a new kind of energy. Could I really do it? Could I build something of my own? The idea was audacious, terrifying, exhilarating all at once. For so long, my identity had been intertwined with Apex, with the corporate ladder I was desperately trying to climb. But what if the true path wasn't up, but out? I walked the deserted city streets, the rhythmic clang of a distant train echoing my racing thoughts. The streetlights cast long, distorted shadows, mirroring the contorted reality I now faced. My work, my talent, my very dedication had been weaponized against me. The $38 million Horizon Dynamics deal, which was virtually sealed, was the very instrument of my impending professional demise. The thought alone fueled my simmering rage, but Liam's email had ignited something else, a spark of defiance. The first step, I knew, was secrecy. Victor, and by extension Apex Innovations, couldn't get wind of any plan. They were predatory, ruthless. If they suspected I was building a competing venture, they would crush it before it even had a chance to breathe. I needed an ally, someone I could trust implicitly. My thoughts immediately turned to Chloe, my assistant. She was sharp, discreet, and possessed an uncanny ability to anticipate my needs. More importantly, she had seen firsthand the casual disrespect and overt appropriation of my work by Victor. She knew the truth, even if she rarely spoke of it. The next morning, the office felt different. The air was thick with unspoken tension, at least to me. Victor, oblivious, sauntered in, beaming, probably still relishing his clandestine plot. I met his gaze with a forced smile, a mask perfected over years of corporate charades. But beneath it, a plan was beginning to take shape, cold and precise. Later that day, I pulled Chloe aside, leading her to a quiet, rarely used conference room. The fluorescent lights hummed above us, creating an almost clinical atmosphere, perfect for the serious conversation ahead. "Chloe," I began, my voice low, "I need to ask you for something big. Something that could change everything for both of us." Her eyes, usually full of youthful exuberance, narrowed slightly, sensing the gravity in my tone. I briefly, carefully outlined the situation, watching her face for any sign of doubt or fear. To my relief, her expression hardened with a quiet resolve. "I'm with you, Ilara," she said, her voice barely a whisper but firm. "Just tell me what to do." And just like that, the first domino fell. A conspiracy of two against an empire. The seed of Rivers and Rowe LLC, my future company, had been planted in the fertile ground of betrayal and defiance. The path ahead was treacherous, fraught with risks, but for the first time in a long time, I felt a flicker of genuine hope. The air in my tiny apartment, usually a sanctuary of quiet reflection, now thrummed with a nervous energy that was almost palpable. Chloe sat across from me, her laptop glowing in the dim light, its screen a portal to a future we were desperately trying to architect in secret. The initial shock of Victor's betrayal had solidified into a cold, determined resolve, a foundation upon which we began to lay the bricks of Rivers and Rowe LLC. Our first clandestine meeting had been a whirlwind of hushed whispers and frantic brainstorming. We knew we needed legal counsel, someone discreet and sharp. Chloe, with her surprising network of contacts, quickly found him. a veteran corporate lawyer named Arthur Vance, known for his ironclad non-disclosure agreements and a reputation for representing underdogs. His office, tucked away in a quiet corner of the city, felt like a neutral zone, a safe harbor where our audacious dreams could be openly discussed. Arthur listened, his expression unreadable, as I laid out the entirety of my predicament. The years of unrecognized labor at Apex Innovations, the looming Horizon Dynamics deal, and the damning message on Victor's phone. He simply nodded, occasionally interjecting with concise, probing questions that cut straight to the legal bone. "So, essentially," Arthur had summarized, leaning back in his worn leather chair, "you were an indispensable asset being exploited, with a clear intent to discard you once your value was fully extracted. And you want to leverage your existing, completed work, but under a new entity, without legal recourse from your former employer?" His eyes held a shrewd glint. "It's aggressive. It's risky. But crucially, as an independent contractor on this specific deal, your intellectual property on the final deliverables after your termination, provided it's not Apex's proprietary background IP, is remarkably ambiguous in your current contract. We can exploit that ambiguity." Exploit? The word resonated with a satisfying hum. For once, the exploitation would be on my terms. Arthur outlined the intricate legal dance we'd have to perform, registering Rivers and Rowe LLC quietly, setting up bank accounts, drafting basic operational contracts. It was a dizzying amount of paperwork, a labyrinth of legalities that felt miles away from the strategic proposals I usually crafted. But with Chloe's meticulous organizational skills and Arthur's guidance, we began to chip away at it, piece by agonizing piece. My days at Apex became a performance. I smiled at Victor, attended meetings with forced enthusiasm, and continued to refine the Horizon Dynamics proposal, pushing it ever closer to completion. Each keystroke, each perfectly crafted slide, felt like a tiny act of rebellion. I was building their future, yes, but simultaneously, I was dismantling my own shackles. The tension was a constant companion, a knot in my stomach that tightened with every passing hour. I became a master of deception, hiding my true intentions behind a veil of corporate loyalty. Evenings were dedicated to Rivers and Rowe. My apartment transformed into our makeshift headquarters, takeout containers piled up on the coffee table, legal documents and business plans spread across every available surface. Chloe, ever the workhorse, delved into market research, competitive analysis, and even designing a sleek minimalist logo for our nascent company. "We need something that embodies flow, change, but also strength, Ilara," she'd mused, her brow furrowed in concentration. The name, Rivers and Rowe, came to me one sleepless night, symbolizing the unstoppable current of change and the collective effort to navigate it. The hours blurred into days, days into weeks. Sleep became a luxury, adrenaline my fuel. We worked in a constant state of low-level paranoia, double-checking every email, clearing browser histories, and speaking in veiled terms even when alone. The Horizon Dynamics contract, the very catalyst for this clandestine operation, was nearing its final draft. Its completion, once my greatest professional aspiration, now felt like the countdown to a high-stakes detonation. My carefully constructed plan was about to reach its most perilous juncture. Would Apex see through my facade? Would Victor suspect anything before it was too late? The stakes were astronomical, and failure wasn't an option. The Horizon Dynamics contract, once a symbol of my professional peak, had morphed into a ticking time bomb. Each day brought it closer to completion, and with it, my predetermined dismissal from Apex Innovations. The finished proposal sat on my desktop, a digital masterpiece of strategy and foresight, meticulously crafted over months, now ready to be delivered. My finger hovered over the Zen button, a chasm of uncertainty yawning beneath it. This was it. The culmination of my corporate servitude, about to trigger my professional death sentence. The tension in the office was almost unbearable, though only I truly felt it. Victor prowled the hallways with an irritating swagger, his frequent hushed phone calls and secretive smiles signaling the final stages of his deceit. He'd even started bringing in small boxes, subtly packing personal effects from his office. A clear sign that he was ready for the next phase of his plan, blissfully unaware that I was orchestrating a far more disruptive one. He'd glance at me sometimes with a patronizing smirk, a silent acknowledgement of my impending irrelevance. Oh, how wrong he was. "Are you sure about this, Alara?" Chloe had whispered yesterday, her voice laced with concern, as we finalized the last details for Rivers and Rowe, LLC. We were sitting in a nondescript cafe, pretending to discuss a mundane work project, while in reality, we were plotting an industrial coup. Sending the proposal now would activate their timeline for your termination. Her worry was palpable, a mirror of the fleeting doubt that sometimes gnawed at me in the dead of night. "I have to, Chloe," I'd replied, my gaze fixed on the steam rising from my coffee cup. "The deal has to close. It's the only leverage I have. And besides," I added, a steely resolve hardening my voice, "the minute that contract is submitted, my value to Apex becomes zero. That's when I seize control of my own narrative." The hours crawled by. My office at Apex felt like a cage, every email notification a jolt, every knock on the door a potential harbinger of doom. I went through the motions, attending a dull team meeting about next quarter's projections, offering insightful comments as if my world wasn't about to implode. My colleagues, absorbed in their own corporate anxieties, noticed nothing. The irony was exquisite. I was planning my escape right under their noses. Just as the sun began to dip below the city skyline, casting long orange shadows across my desk, an unexpected message popped up. It was from Chloe. Her name flashed urgently on my screen, followed by a series of rapid-fire texts. "Ilara, don't send it. Stop. Victor just booked a private meeting with HR for tomorrow morning. I overheard him. It's about restructuring the department. It's happening. Now." My blood ran cold, then surged with a furious heat. Chloe's timing was impeccable, her vigilance my saving grace. The send button, once merely a trigger for a planned departure, now represented a catastrophic error. If I sent that contract, I'd be handing them the very tool they needed to smoothly discard me, with my work neatly packaged for their benefit. My hand, which had been reaching for the mouse, froze mid-air. The ticking clock had just accelerated, and I had mere hours to make a decision that would redefine my future. The email arrived precisely at 9 a.m., a cold, clinical weapon disguised as corporate formality. The subject line read, "Important update regarding your employment status." My heart hammered against my ribs, a dull thud against the silence of my apartment. I knew what it was, of course. Chloe's warning from the night before had been chillingly accurate, but knowing didn't lessen the sting of seeing it in black and white. This was it. The moment Apex Innovations officially tried to erase me. The message, brief and devoid of any human touch, stated that due to strategic restructuring and evolving departmental needs, my contract was being terminated, effective immediately. My access to all company systems, including my email and network drives, was revoked. A courier would be dispatched to collect any company property. No farewell, no thank you, no acknowledgement of the years I had dedicated to their success. Just a digital slap in the face. Victor's signature, crisp and unfeeling, seemed to smirk from the bottom of the page. A wave of nausea washed over me, a dizzying mix of anger and humiliation. This wasn't just about a job, it was about dignity, It was about being valued, or rather, brutally devalued. All those late nights, the impossible deadlines, the innovative solutions I'd crafted for Apex, they amounted to nothing but a quick, unceremonious email. The message on Victor's phone had predicted this, yet the reality felt far more brutal. But amidst the surge of raw emotion, a small, defiant voice stirred within me. This wasn't the end. This was the beginning of my true rebellion. They had cut me loose, indeed, but they hadn't anticipated that I would choose when and how that severance would truly impact them. My phone vibrated. It was Chloe. Her voice, usually so composed, held a tremor of fury. "Ilara, I saw the internal memo. It's despicable. Are you okay?" "I'm fine, Chloe," I lied, though my voice cracked slightly. More determined than ever. "Did you manage to get everything?" "Everything, and then some," she confirmed, her tone shifting to one of grim satisfaction. "Just after you left last night, I went through all your project files, every single strategy document, the entire Horizon Dynamics proposal, every iteration, every last detail. I even snagged some of Victor's less than flattering internal emails about you. Everything's on a secure drive, encrypted. They locked your access down a minute after I copied the last file." A profound sense of relief washed over me, instantly eclipsing the sting of the termination email. Chloe, my lifeline. She had acted with foresight and courage, anticipating Apex's every move. While they were busy severing my digital connection, she had already ensured my work, my legacy, was safe and sound. The $38 million Horizon Dynamics proposal, my masterpiece, was now fully in my possession, ready to be wielded as I saw fit. I leaned back in my chair, a slow smile spreading across my face. Apex thought they had won. They thought they had neatly removed the thorn in their side, confident they now possessed all the fruits of my labor. They were celebrating a hollow victory, unaware that the very prize they coveted was about to become their undoing. The email, now relegated to the background of my thoughts, was no longer a sign of defeat. It was a catalyst. The game had just begun. The termination email, now several hours old, had settled into a dull ache rather than a sharp pain. I stared out my apartment window, the city lights beginning to twinkle like cynical stars against the deepening twilight. The initial shock had given way to a quiet, simmering anger, a cold resolve that felt both empowering and terrifying. Apex Innovations had tried to bury me, but they'd only succeeded in planting a seed of defiance. My phone buzzed, pulling me from my reverie. It was a notification from an old, seldom-used email account. Curiosity, a rare commodity in my current state, prompted me to open it. And there it was, an email from Liam Sterling, dated nearly 6 months ago, after one of our particularly intense collaboration sessions on the Horizon Dynamics project. I had forgotten all about it. "Ilara," the message began, concise and to the point. "I've rarely encountered someone with your strategic depth and foresight. If Apex Innovations ever fails to recognize your true value, or if you ever feel stifled by corporate constraints, know that Horizon Dynamics would be keen to explore opportunities, perhaps even supporting you in a venture of your own. Your vision deserves a larger canvas." A breath I didn't realize I'd been holding escaped in a ragged sigh. It was the same email Chloe had mentioned, the one that had fleetingly offered a sliver of hope in the immediate aftermath of Victor's betrayal. But seeing it now, in the stark reality of my unemployment, it hit differently. It wasn't just a polite corporate platitude. It was a genuine recognition, a validation from someone whose opinion I deeply respected. It was a hand reaching out from the very company I was about to shock. The anger hadn't vanished, but it was now tempered with a newfound surge of purpose. This wasn't just about revenge against Apex. It was about building something real, something truly my own. Rivers and Row LLC wasn't just a legal maneuver. It was the embodiment of my professional liberation. The $38 million Horizon Dynamics contract, which I had poured my heart and soul into, was not destined for Victor's undeserved glory. It was destined for my company. I turned from the window, my gaze falling on the secure drive Chloe had given me, nestled quietly beside my laptop. It contained months of my tireless work, the complete, meticulously crafted Horizon Dynamics proposal. Every detail, every nuanced strategy, every projection. It was all there, a testament to my skill, untouched by Apex's impending termination. This wasn't theft, this was reclamation. They had refused to value me, so I would value myself. A sense of calm, sharp and clear, settled over me. The path forward, once shrouded in fear and uncertainty, now lay brightly illuminated. I would send the Horizon Dynamics contract, but not from my defunct Apex email, not under their banner. It would go from Rivers and Row LLC, a new entity, a declaration of independence. And it would be addressed directly to Liam Sterling. The game had indeed begun, but it wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about proving them wrong, about building an empire from the ashes of betrayal. It was about defining my own worth, on my own terms. The thought invigorated me, chasing away the last vestiges of doubt. This was my moment. My finger hesitated for only a fraction of a second above the send button. It wasn't fear, not anymore. It was the weight of this moment, the culmination of years of quiet dedication and months of frantic clandestine work. The email was pristine, professional, yet carried the silent roar of a declaration of independence. It contained the complete finalized Horizon Dynamics proposal, a masterpiece of strategy that Apex Innovations had expected to claim as their own. But this time, it came from a new sender, Rivers and Row LLC. The recipient was Liam Sterling, COO of Horizon Dynamics. There was no need for a cover letter explaining my abrupt departure from Apex. Liam's previous email, the lifeline I'd rediscovered, served as our unspoken understanding. He knew my capabilities, recognized my vision. This was simply the formal presentation of a solution, now under my own banner. The digital clock in the corner of my screen seemed to tick louder than my own heartbeat. Click. Sent. A profound silence filled my apartment, broken only by the gentle hum of my laptop. It was done. The die was cast. The $38 million deal, a project I'd poured my soul into, was now a bridge to my new beginning, rather than a gangplank to my professional demise. The sensation was exhilarating, a cocktail of liberation and terrifying uncertainty. Would Liam understand? Would Horizon Dynamics accept a proposal from a brand new entity, especially one so intimately linked to a recent high-profile project still officially tied to Apex? Minutes stretched into an eternity. I paced my small living room, the city lights outside my window mirroring the buzzing anxiety within me. What if Liam ignored it? What if he contacted Victor? What if Apex found out before I had a chance to solidify anything? My mind raced through every worst-case scenario, the corporate espionage thrillers I'd sometimes watched for fun, now feeling disturbingly real. Then, my phone chimed. A new email. My hand shot out, snatching the device from the table. The sender. Liam Sterling. My breath hitched. I opened it, my eyes scanning the words with an almost desperate intensity. Ilara, it began, straightforward and direct. This is quite the development. I confess, I was anticipating a different sender for this particular proposal, but frankly, this is far more intriguing. Your work, as always, is exceptional. Horizon Dynamics has reviewed the final proposal you've submitted, and we are prepared to move forward. As per our previous discussions, we are fully committed to supporting your new venture. The initial funding for Rivers and Rowe LLC will be transferred within 48 hours to facilitate the immediate commencement of operations. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Accepted. Funding secured. Just like that. A wave of pure, unadulterated triumph washed over me, so potent it brought tears to my eyes. It wasn't just the validation, it was the sheer audacious success of it. I had been discarded, betrayed, and yet, in less than 24 hours since receiving my termination notice, I had secured a major contract and initial seed funding for my own company. I immediately forwarded Liam's email to Chloe. Her reply came back instantly, a cascade of emojis followed by, "OMG, Ilara, you did it! We did it! This is insane!" Insane, perhaps, but gloriously so. The battle lines had been drawn. Apex Innovations was about to discover that the pawn they thought they'd removed from the board had just transformed into a formidable queen. The real game was about to begin. The email from Liam Sterling was a single, perfect note in the symphony of my burgeoning triumph. But it was the silence that followed, the deafening quiet from Apex Innovations, that truly thrilled me. For 2 days, as Liam's team at Horizon Dynamics began integrating with Rivers and Rowe LLC, I waited. I knew the news would hit them eventually, and when it did, it would detonate like a precisely placed charge. The explosion came on the 3rd day, not with a bang, but with a series of frantic, increasingly panicked messages on my personal phone. First, a terse text from a former colleague. "Did you see what's happening? HR is in a lockdown meeting with Victor." Then, an email from an old acquaintance still at Apex, a vague but urgent subject line. Chaos at the top. And finally, a call from Chloe, her voice barely containing a triumphant shriek. "Ilara, you won't believe it!" She practically yelled into the phone, her excitement bubbling over. "The news about Rivers and Rowe and the Horizon Dynamics deal just hit the executive floor. Victor's office is like a war zone. I saw him storming out of a meeting with the CEO, red-faced, yelling something about corporate espionage and unprecedented betrayal." A slow, satisfied smile spread across my face. "Unprecedented betrayal, you say?" I mused, the irony sweet on my tongue. "Sounds like he's describing his own actions, not mine." "Exactly," Chloe giggled. "The entire management team is in crisis mode. They can't understand how Horizon Dynamics, their supposedly secured deal, suddenly slipped through their fingers and landed with you. They're dissecting every single email, every meeting minute. They think there's a mole. Oh, if only they knew." I pictured it. Victor, the usually smug and self-assured, now flailing, desperately trying to understand how his perfectly executed plan to sideline me had backfired so spectacularly. The $38 million contract, the one he had been so confident would secure his own future at Apex, was now the very evidence of his monumental oversight. The thought was intoxicating. The internal fallout at Apex was just beginning. Word traveled fast in the corporate world, especially when it involved a major client like Horizon Dynamics. Soon, calls started trickling in, not from Apex, but from former clients, contacts I'd cultivated over the years, many of whom had felt similarly undervalued or dismissed by Apex's increasingly corporate and impersonal approach. They expressed surprise, then curiosity, then genuine interest. "Ilara," one former client, an old-school textile magnate named Mr. Davies, whose complex supply chain Apex had consistently mismanaged, said on a call later that week. "I heard you've started your own shop, and that you landed Horizon Dynamics. Impressive. Apex has been a nightmare lately. Always new faces, never the old reliability. Are you taking on new clients?" My heart swelled. This was it. Not just victory, but vindication. The true measure of my worth was not Apex's internal politics, but the trust and loyalty of the clients I served. Rivers and Rowe LLC was about to become a magnet for all those who sought genuine expertise and a human touch that Apex had long since forgotten. The aftershocks of my quiet rebellion were turning into a seismic shift. The whispers from Apex Innovations quickly escalated into a full-blown roar. Victor, no doubt desperate to salvage his crumbling reputation, spearheaded their counterattack. Within days of Rivers and Rowe LLC securing the Horizon Dynamics deal, my phone rang incessantly with calls from unknown numbers, followed by terse emails from Apex's legal department. They accused me of breach of contract, intellectual property theft, and corporate espionage. Their threats were thinly veiled, heavy with the weight of legal action. "Cease and desist," one email blared, demanding I immediately stop all operations of Rivers and Rowe LLC and surrender all materials related to the Horizon Dynamics project. Another threatened swift and severe legal repercussions if I didn't comply. Their desperation was palpable, almost comical. They truly believed they could strong-arm me back into submission, or at least scare me enough to abandon everything I had just built. But they had underestimated me, and more importantly, they had underestimated Arthur Vance. "Let them rattle their sabers, Alara," Arthur had calmly advised during a video call, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing on his lips. "It's a textbook response from a company caught off guard. We anticipated this." He then systematically dismantled Apex's claims, one by one. My contract with Apex, as he'd pointed out months ago, categorized me as a specialized consultant for specific projects, not a full-time employee with broad, non-compete clauses. The $38 million Horizon Dynamics proposal, while developed using Apex resources, was based on my unique strategic insights, and critically, was finalized and submitted after my termination. The legal gray area he had identified was now our unassailable fortress. "They'll argue you stole their trade secrets or proprietary information," Arthur continued. "But you didn't copy their client lists or internal software. You took your own work, perfected by your own intellect, which they summarily discarded. The moment they fired you, they severed their claim to your future output. And Chloe's quick thinking to secure your files before they locked you out? Priceless. It proves you had legitimate access to those documents at the time." The confidence in Arthur's voice was infectious. My initial anxiety about the looming legal battle dissipated, replaced by a quiet satisfaction. Apex's threats, once terrifying, now seemed hollow. They were firing blanks. Their desperate legal maneuvers were only highlighting their own short-sightedness and the sheer incompetence of Victor in handling my termination. Meanwhile, the positive momentum for Rivers and Rowe LLC continued to build. More former Apex clients, disillusioned by the corporate drama and the clear instability at their old firm, reached out. Mr. Davies, the textile magnate, signed a substantial consulting agreement. A tech startup, frustrated by Apex's rigid processes, engaged us for a complex market entry strategy. My calendar, once dictated by Apex's demands, was now filled with promising new ventures, all under the banner of my own company. Apex's legal threats became increasingly frantic, yet increasingly ineffective. Eventually, the threats dwindled, replaced by strained silence. They realized they had no legal leg to stand on. Their counterattack had failed. The very company that had tried to bury me was now sinking into a quagmire of their own making, while Rivers and Rowe LLC soared. The soft glow of my office, a space now entirely my own, felt like a warm embrace. No longer the sterile confines of Apex Innovations. This was the vibrant headquarters of Rivers and Rowe LLC, a testament to resilience and relentless determination. The large window behind my desk offered a panoramic view of the bustling city, a sprawling canvas of opportunities, rather than the suffocating concrete jungle it once felt like. On the wall opposite, framed with quiet irony, hung a printout of Victor's original termination email. A stark reminder, not of lingering bitterness, but of the pivotal moment that had forced my hand and forged my path. It had been an exhilarating whirlwind of the past few months. The Horizon Dynamics project, our inaugural triumph, had been delivered flawlessly, exceeding all expectations. Liam Sterling himself had sent a personal commendation, praising Rivers & Rowe LLC's agility, innovative solutions, and exceptional expertise, a stark contrast to Apex's bureaucratic sluggishness and predictable methodologies. That success, a shining beacon of our capabilities, had opened doors faster than I could have ever imagined. Our reputation, built on tangible results and genuine client relationships, preceded us. We weren't just a new player, we were a disruptor, a fresh breath of air in an often stagnant industry. Chloe, my invaluable ally, had blossomed into an indispensable chief operations officer. Her meticulous organizational prowess, combined with her innate understanding of our vision and her fiercely protective loyalty, ensured that our rapidly growing team operated like a well-oiled machine. We had strategically hired brilliant, passionate individuals, many of whom, like me, had felt stifled or undervalued in larger, more rigid corporate structures. Our company culture, painstakingly cultivated, was one of true collaboration, transparent communication, and genuine respect. Everything Apex was not. We invested heavily in our team, offering unparalleled professional development and a work-life balance that fostered creativity and commitment. This philosophy translated directly into the superior quality of our deliverables and the unwavering loyalty of our employees. The flow of new business was steady, almost overwhelming. Former Apex Innovations clients continued to migrate to us, drawn not just by our proven results, but by our personalized approach and the deep human connection we offered. Mr. Davies, the old-school textile magnate, not only became a loyal client, but also an ardent advocate, frequently recommending our services to his extensive network. A burgeoning tech startup, frustrated by Apex's rigid one-size-fits-all processes, engaged us for a complex market entry strategy that we executed with bespoke precision. My calendar, once dictated by Apex's demands, was now filled with promising new ventures, each reinforcing the reputation of Rivers & Rowe LLC as the go-to firm for truly transformative solutions. The initial $38 million Horizon Dynamics deal had been the ripple, and now a powerful, unstoppable wave of success was carrying Rivers & Rowe LLC to unprecedented heights, cementing our position as a leader in the consulting space. We were on track to double our revenue within the next fiscal year, an astonishing feat for a startup of our age. All right, so Ilara's story, it's not just some corporate drama flick, it's like a real-life playbook for anyone trying to navigate their career and, well, just life in general. Seriously, there are some serious takeaways here. First off, and this is a big one, if you've got skills, don't let anyone undervalue you. Ilara was super talented, but that Apex Innovations company just kept taking advantage of her, treating her like she was disposable. It's just like in real life, right? If you don't believe in your own worth or you don't know how much you bring to the table, someone's gonna step all over you. You gotta know you're the real deal, the premium brand, to demand the respect you deserve. Then, there's the surprising part. Getting stabbed in the back? Might actually be a blessing in disguise. Remember when Ilara's boss, Victor, totally backstabbed her? Ouch, that must have hurt like crazy. But think about it. That exact betrayal was the springboard that launched her out of that toxic company. Sometimes the crappiest things that happen, like a massive screw-up, a big fall, or a friend coworker playing dirty, are actually the best opportunities to hit reset, rethink everything, and start a whole new, much better journey. So, if life throws you a curveball or someone tries to mess with you, don't just give up. Think of it as a chance to glow up and become an even better version of yourself. Turn that pain into power. Next up, Ilara and Chloe planning everything out like total pros, keeping it all top secret, like secret agents? That's a crucial life lesson right there. If you're doing something big, or if you're in a tough spot, you gotta keep your cards close to your chest. Don't go broadcasting your plans too early, especially if you've got rivals trying to take you down. Just build things quietly, behind the scenes, and when you're fully ready, then you can show off and blow everyone's minds. And hey, remember, you need loyal crewmates like Chloe. You can't sail that ship alone. Having trustworthy friends or awesome mentors is worth more than gold, for real. Finally, Ilara's company, Rivers and Row, blew up, and it wasn't just because she got revenge on Apex. It was because they did awesome work, genuinely cared about their clients, and delivered top-notch results. That's always the bottom line. Your product or your service has to be quality, and you have to be decent to people. If you're just focused on dirty tricks, karma's gonna catch up to you eventually. Just look at Apex. They basically self-destructed, and Victor? He got totally demoted and ended up a public laughingstock. Good news travels fast, sure, but bad news actually travels way, way faster. So, here's the bottom line. Life might throw some serious punches, or people might try to play you dirty. But what really matters is how you get back up, what you learn from those hits, and how you use them to build your own legacy. Never, ever stop believing in your own worth. Go out there, take charge, and create that sparkle for yourself, because the real glow-up comes from within, not from what anyone else gives you. Hope Ilara's story touched your heart and gave you some meaningful insights. If you feel inspired, or if this story helped you see something new in your life and career, don't hesitate to show it. Please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on other fascinating stories and valuable lessons I'll bring you. Every single subscription is a huge encouragement for me to keep creating. And now, I'd love to hear from you. What impressions did Ilara's story about betrayal, resilience, and building her own career leave on you? What did you learn from this tale? Or was there a specific part that really resonated with you? Go ahead and comment below. Share your thoughts and feelings about this story. Our conversation will make these lessons even more profound. Thanks for listening and being here with me. See you in the next stories.